Okay. Well, I was holding off on the start button until I knew that you was set up.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I know you've been waiting a while, so I don't want to hold you up too long, my friend.
Oh no, I was in a hurry. I just wait. I told you when you were ready. If you wanted to do it when you were ready, I wasn't gonna go before then. But okay. Anyhow, we'll wait and let somebody get in here. But we're live.
We're live, and I'm gonna let up.
Okay, that's right. We're live Saturday night, and he's gonna let a cigarette. That's good. Good for your health, right?
No.
In the world of NWO, it's better for your health than what we're seeing going on.
Well, it's thinking for yourself and feeling for yourself just because you're told it's bad for your health.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, what's told to be good for your health isn't good for your health. So,
No,
yeah, I mean, I'm
exactly.
just happy I think for myself. The smoking might be a subsequent byproduct of being my own man or my own individual. But if I wasn't, that's just who I am. If I wasn't my own individual, I might be going to get one of these shots, So, could be worse.
Yeah, well, we won't go diving into them jabs too much on this live stream because then that would jab us on out of here.
That's right. We don't want to talk too much about that. Maybe we could stick to TFL or something, more abstract.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
think it would be a little safer. I mean, we could talk about NWO and we could talk about TFL and dating scene, but that other thing you were just talking about, the jab things going around.
Yeah, at the moment, it's like a calm before the storm, the wait and see. So maybe we're better off being quiet. We don't want to do a thought crime. Heaven forbid we'll be locked up because we're not thinking how our owners want us to think and feel.
Uh-huh.
It's crazy, but I mean, yeah, there's literally people out there whose job it is to control how you think and your perceptions, how you feel about everything in your mind. Fuck.
They've done a damn good job, man. They have messed up this world big time. And as people that are here in the chat, they're seeing this is Saturday, and here we are, right? Anyhow, and I think they recognize the voice that's talking to me, so we'll leave it at that. And it's a strange voice you never heard before, right?
Well, let me get the chat up here. I've got myself a new device. I can. Yeah, it's finally back.
Yep, now you got a new device that works a whole lot better. I mean,
Yeah, no, we can do a lot more of these if we want, free time and such. Things are looking up in that regard.
yeah, and looking down everywhere else, but might as well look up and come over here where we're not facing over there for the moment.
Yeah, anywhere but the mainstream media.
Well, that mainstream media, they're not going to let us on anyhow, and if they let us on, they'll just crucify us anyhow. So.
Yeah, well, TFL had nothing but negative coverage because they don't want, it talked about. It's actually the solution. A lot of people understood just how fucked up they were in the dating scene and how their bodies had been augmented, and they understood it wasn't their own fault because a lot of the guys blame themselves. They're too hard on themselves and they end up hating themselves. They hold themselves to the standards of the past, of their parents' generation, or how it was, not understanding that how it was is a completely different environment. We're not static. As humans, we change, and the environment shapes us. It's like nature versus nurture. Just because we have the nature of our ancestors doesn't mean we're going to perform the same, because the environment we are nurtured in is so toxic. It's like a fucking sewer.
Yeah.
It's fucking, you'd have to be a rat to enjoy fucking living
Well,
in this society.
they can't get anywhere as long as you go along with the perceptions that are taught, because what we have literally is nothing but psychotic behavior. Okay, people don't pay attention to their own behavior, so they think they can treat somebody whatever way they feel. Then when they do wrong onto somebody else because they think they have the right, somebody does the same thing they done to them, and the fight's on because they can't handle what they dished.
Yeah, and it's only gotten worse as the times went on, and I think the vaccinate well shit. Let's just say I think the body augmentations have affected that. They certainly dumb people down to such a level now where there's people. I mean, these shots can affect how people think. That have been given out in the 1990s, and some people are just incapable of thinking in particular ways now. It's not their fault. It's been what's done to them.
It
I
has.
mean,
It's sad.
they
I
had
mean,
no
you know,
chance. It was given birth.
and if you look at media guy just said here, okay, I mean, this is sad, but I've seen this for so long now, and that is no surprise, okay? That is no surprise at all that this guy is 30 years old and never had a date, okay, and it's hitting him hard, okay? I understand that, and I feel for him, but I can't change the behaviors of people through social engineering. They have to be willing to back up and think in the real world, and it has to be from both genders. Okay? It does no good for one gender to do the right thing if the other gender's not going to do the right thing. And as long as everybody wants to be self-centered, selfish, and cremation of care wants to be for real with people and they have no care for other people, then don't plan on anything getting any better anytime soon.
Yeah, it's not your fault. And people, I mean, the woman nowadays, everybody, but the women have all the power, particularly, and all the choice in the pick. And they stay so because of the government policies. So men are in a bad spot, but it's made even worse because they're following such toxic narratives today. They're following the self-destruct mode that literally you have to bend over and follow a certain narrative and appear in a certain way. You have to be a particular person and, kind of betray yourself
You can't be
as someone
yourself.
when
No,
you're not
you're
to
not
fit
allowed to.
the cookie cutter mold.
You're literally not allowed to be yourself.
No, you're not allowed to say anything that might be, politically incorrect. You're not allowed to have any alternative thoughts because that's weird. You'll come off as a weirdo, or how can you think that you're crazy, you're nuts? All these types of labels that people follow the crowd, especially young people, because they're so dumbed down. A lot of them don't have proper life experience. They just follow the crowd, and the crowd teaches them, and the outsiders are people who are individuals who are themselves and aren't going along with this satanic
Oh, I know.
bullshit to their destruction are the ones who deserve to be left out all of a sudden. So the people who are good are the people who everybody else sees as bad. It's all upside down.
It is. Everything's completely upside down. And I can understand, like, media guys in here talking again. I see we got Grim back in here, and I totally understand the dilemma and the spot guys are in, but until both genders can pull their heads firmly back out of their behinds and stop listening to the media completely and examine their own behaviors, we can't correct it. Because it has to come from both genders. It can't come from only one. And it's not a power struggle. We got to take the power back away from them. If you need to take the power away from them, but it don't be given them to men neither. It needs to be thrown in fucking somewhere underneath ground so deep nobody can ever get it again. Because human beings don't belong having power over other human beings.
Yeah, but the sad thing is, I don't see it changing. Even in the Eastern European, the Soviet system, they used to put the women in all of the power positions. For whatever reason, they found that the women, were better. They were more likely to conform and go along with the crowd. And maybe there's something biological there, right? A woman might not want to rock the boat as much as a man. A man might be more aggressive, or he might not agree with everything he's told. A woman might be more agreeable on average, anyhow, I
Yeah.
believe. So they're more likely to go along with the engineering and trying to fit in and make peace, whereas a man might, disagree with it more. And especially, it don't help whenever the narrative attacks men. You have a lot more men not fitting in and a lot more men, not agreeing with it because they don't fit in. They're kind of outcast or kicked out of the society. So, I mean, they're not in a good spot to begin with. And that suffering might open them up to realizing something's wrong, whereas a lot of women who haven't suffered in that way can't really empathize or see it from our perspective because their reality is so different.
Their reality is different. They don't have the same experience because, unfortunately, the way society's been set up and engineered, they don't see it because they're not really living that. They're living the opposite. It's like what media guys said here about how, the woman tells the guy she loves him, and then behind his back she's out doing some other guy. Okay, but unfortunately that's happening. That is happening on a big scale because everything is so twisted. It's about, really, when you look at it, it's about usury anymore. It's what is it in it for me. It's not about anything meaningful. It's not about building a friendship or building a relationship at all. Okay, it goes right along with the agenda perfectly, though. It really does. And Grimm says that, okay, humanity, is it really worth saving? Well, if the behaviors are going to continue as we know they are, then I have to question that myself. I have to say maybe this needs to happen, huh?
Well, on an
And
individual
I hate to
basis,
say that because I don't like the idea of that, you know?
yeah, on an individual basis, we matter a lot. If, definitely at a time like this, whenever the tide is all against us, it's not in our favor whatsoever. It can be, you can give up and develop self-hating behaviors, and give up on everybody, especially with the state of the crowd. But at the same time, you have to respect yourself to a degree where you don't give up and realize that there are people like you out there. You're not alone, and for them people, they're worth saving anyhow, even if the majority ain't.
Yeah. It's a very sad state of affairs because they have messed up society so bad that people don't have communication skills no more. People don't know how to have a different opinion without having a fight with each other. I hate their guts. They don't agree with my opinion. Okay? And it's retarded.
Yeah, I'm just in my garage right now, and I got this like wild mouse in here. It's fucking,
All
it's
right.
creeping me out, running at
Okay.
my fucking feet a few times, and I'm like, whoa,
All
it's
right.
giving me
Well, invite the mouse into the
shots.
show. Maybe it wants to squeak a little. I can invite Meow into the show and we can watch the cat chase the mouse.
I mean, it's just a natural instinct in me, whenever some mouse is chasing my foot, I react to it. I can't contain myself. It's like fucking my survival instincts. Like, don't bite me. No, 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 no. And yeah, I mean, I like it. Like, I've known it's in here for a while. I'm not killing it. I've even fed it a few times, but it does creep me out a bit if it gets too close to me. you know.
Yeah,
But I
well,
respect life. I even respect the life of this fucking wild mouse. So it's cool.
well,
It's
yeah,
cool. Like,
but that's actually pretty cool because, think about it. You might have panicked and started smashing it, and killing him.
yeah, it's one of them things. It's like it's such a quiet room, and I'm kind of focused on this live stream, so that this guy's creeping up on me, and I'm in the dark. So
Is
it's
that
like,
is that is that mouse related to a Rothschild or Rockefeller? Oh. And they be creeping up on you. It's a bankster. I mean, a gangster. Yep.
I mean,
Well,
I just hope I
you
don't have
know,
any diseases.
and our last commenter from QA, women have been brainwashed to believe that they are above, okay, than men. So I don't believe yeah, okay. Well, that's correct. But the problem is that it isn't just women that's been brainwashed. It's everybody. It's been going on your entire life. You just didn't know it. Because all brainwashing is the ability to change one's perceptions, which is their beliefs. Well, when all you're ever fed from the time you're born, pretty much most of everything you're ever fed by your school system and your television set and your music has been conditioned to shape your consciousness to believe in crap, well, then it's crap in and crap out.
Yeah, these perceptions are easily programmed, and some people have a genetic disposition where they can think for themselves or kind of fight it and they refuse it. I always refused this from a young age, from my personal experiences. Whenever I saw the male shaming on TV as a young kid, I used to drive me mad. Or if I was watching a comedy TV show, there's certain instances in a comedy TV show where they direct you to laugh, right? There's like an audience that laugh in the background whenever a character makes a funny joke in these little shows, these comedy shows, and that always annoyed me because even at a young age, whenever I heard this laugh, and that pissed me off, and I didn't think it was funny because I could tell it was conformity, and I disagreed with it. I could tell these guys were trying to manipulate me in a certain fashion, and I just didn't agree with it. So.
Yeah. Well, the reality is in our world today, everything is upside down. The division is straight across the board. It's from the genders to the races to the workplace. The construct of that you have to have a society where you have a hierarchy and other people based on a tool, a man-made construct, are propped up above other people and giving special privileges, you know, and your so-called lawmakers, they don't have to abide to the laws. And then on top of all that, you can't even read the laws. We're looking them up because they're wrote in legalese. So that you have to pay some clown who went to school to learn how to read legalese. I call that entrapment, okay? That's actually entrapment. Because you cannot be held accountable to uphold something you were never taught and that you couldn't even look up and read because it's wrote in a foreign tongue.
Well, there's so many pitfalls, and especially, I mean, the law's written in a way so these contracts get changed over time. So you could sign a contract, and then it's so bogus that they can actually change the contract, like a marriage contract, after you sign it.
Yeah.
And then use that, like, they can add no fault divorce or all this other shit to it after it's been signed, and then use that to fucking lynch you. So,
well, you know, a lot of these bills, it's a lot of these bills and laws that's come in, they will bring a 1,000-page or 2,000-page document to the table. They'll be sitting in the House and they'll be getting ready to vote on it, right? Nobody has seen it yet, and it's wrote in legalese. They got their books out to decode the legalese to be able to read it, but they're given 15 minutes to read it and then vote on it. So they couldn't have even got off the first page, and now they're voting on it. But in the back pages, you know, if it was 1,000 or 2,000 pages long, they've already wrote things into this that now will become law later on that's added to it that you never knew about because you never took time to look it up. And if you did look it up, you most likely wouldn't be able to read it. Okay? So what you have is nothing but, well, a mafia, a syndicate, a mob, gangsters. And then, of course, their arm of tyranny is law enforcement. Military and law enforcement is the arm to keep you enslaved, impress you, keep you down.
yeah, it's an ancient system. Even, in the original sorts of civilizations they had, they would have like a city. Like the city is like the farm, the nest, and people in the city cannot get their own food. They don't have enough area or space to do it. So a lot of these military in the city would have went out to people in the surrounding areas, like farms, and just went and stole, their food. And if they didn't, if they didn't accept the tax or anything, they would straight up fucking kill them and rob them anyhow. So,
Yeah.
It's not really changed. It's an ancient system.
No, so it makes it a real joke when people say how we have progressed. Look at all the technology. And then the TV set, of course, will tell you, we're more connected than ever. No, you're not. You're more disconnected than ever. Not connected, disconnected.
Yeah, it's nothing new under the sun. Like with the whole idea of a soldier, right? That comes to start with that word sol. That's the word for sun in Spanish, I think, in a lot of the Latin or the Roman languages too. So I mean, they're telling you basically that the soldier or the human nature is as eternal as the sun. So long as we live on this planet, under the stars, under this moon, under the sun, nothing's really going to change for any of us. It's just going to be, winners, losers, tyranny, suffering, love and hate, all these causal relationships, we're kind of stuck with them.
Well, that's it.
Right.
That's why media guys say no matter what I do, no woman is interested in me. He says I'm stuck. Okay, the times I have tried getting to know a woman that left me in the dirt. I know exactly what he's talking about. That's exactly true, too. And it fucking happens on a massive scale. Okay, and unfortunately, there's so many men. I mean, it's just like girl rights what? The employee of the establishment, the feminist employee, that Paul Elam passed over the men's right movement to feminist women. It's like she said, well, if you went back 70 years ago, 90% of the population had somebody in their life. But nowadays, there's a significant, which means a high number, There's a significant number of men that just outright ain't fuckable. Now, there's from your men's right activist feminist Karen Stout. That is her words, not mine.
Yeah, it's despicable, really. I mean, Karen's purpose is to get all the simps, all the low IQ guys, all the dumb fucks attention basically, and convince them that their solution is to make YouTube videos and beg the government, kiss the government's ass, and kiss up to the woman. Do this to them to change it. And I think Karen was a divorced woman too, which makes it even more laughable.
Well, yeah, she was not. She was divorced with the children. She never talked about where she got the children, who the dad was. She's going and traveling to all these locations and giving fucking seminars and speeches and crap. Okay? And so, and that's not cheap. So everything, but she's working for the establishment. You got to really figure since TFL came into existence, it caught the elite off guard. They had MRA, men's rights activists, who was telling you to call your congressmen and your senators, like if that was going to change anything when they knew it wasn't, because it was all problem, reaction, solution. They gave you the pickup artist industry, PUA. Okay, that was the only thing that existed. I came along, gave you TFL, a name, and then I did my research and I broke it down and pointed out exactly where it come from. It ties right back to New World Order. And people got confused. They couldn't understand it. A lot of people understood, a lot of people didn't. So that caused another divide, And meanwhile, it pissed off some people at the top.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a sad state of affairs, but really most people today just, they're not even capable of thinking. If you look around, the majority are sound asleep even now. I mean, people have always wondered just how intelligent or how awake everybody else was around them, and it's all about projection, right? So
yep.
You think people are like you because you're in a certain way. You think everybody's going to be similar to you, but you don't actually realize that just because they're human, just because they're the same species or look like you, don't mean they think like you at all. In fact, the majority of people, I'd say, are incapable of thought beyond the mainstream narratives. They're just emotional for the most part. Like all these guys who get offended at your topic and then they leave the channel. They hear about TFL or the NWO and it scares them. They run off. And so many of these guys have, even attacked you, right? Like Smart Skeptic, they called you out, and now everything you said has come true. These guys have disappeared into the void and they don't even come back. It's like they don't even realize how wrong they were. They're still living in denial, right? And for whatever reason, something clicks with them that they don't want to associate with you anymore, so they disappear. I mean, they go gone. They don't try to attack you again because they know you're right deep down, but emotionally wise, they're never going to admit to it. They don't like it. So it's something subconscious in them. They kind of see it, but they can't verbalize or articulate what's went wrong there. They just know there's something that doesn't sit right with them, with what you have said, because of how you've made them feel from what you've said. Because, I mean, the topic is a bit negative and it takes very tough skin to handle.
Unfortunately, that's true. But nevertheless, the words that I've spoken are all truth. And because truth is hard to deal with, doesn't change the fact it's the truth.
Yeah, if we keep ignoring the problem, and that's what most people do, then we just keep giving in to the system and what these people want at the top. So.
And it only gets worse, which is exactly what they want. That's how they're getting by with what they're getting by with. The people have the power. But the people don't have the power until they realize they actually have the power. And you can't have the power as long as you're fighting one another.
Yeah, they've pushed so hard on the division in the media, like the last 20 years, the amount of race baiting which has went on, the amount of, men against women, the amount of horrific crimes we've seen, like about parents murdering their children or children being abducted and pedophiles, all this stuff, the terrorism, it's all been intentionally pushed to create division, wear down people's, natural collective instincts in each other, to get everybody, especially the feelers who don't think, they just see it and they internalize it, gets them feeling, a constant unease around the other people, gets them feeling, constantly distant. And of course, that's exactly what they want. Look at the social distancing, look at everything else. Yeah.
Well,
Well, up to it.
Grimm asked if what he thinks it'll be for another 4 years. He thinks it's going to be like the Hunger Games. I would agree because that was their predictive programming. That is the society they're planning. It's like 1984, but worse. Hunger Games is a good example of that. The Great Reset isn't a conspiracy theory. It's for real. These idiots are trying it. And they're not going to stop because nobody wants to stand up for themselves because they're all scared of somebody wearing a costume or with a man made construct position. Or they're all worried about making the very thing that's going to get them dropped off the cliff on their head and killed money. Because the people
Yeah.
behind all this are the people who own, control the money.
Exactly. The Great Reset's documentable. You can read all about it, but the whole purpose of it is to have these smart cities. And if you're outside the smart city, you're going to be living back in the feudal times, the Stone Age, basically the medieval times. You're not
Yeah.
going to have any of the services you've grown accustomed to, like the plumbing or anything like that, or electric. You're going to be left without. It's going to be the bare bones type of living. The only people who will get to live the modern lifestyle are those who decide to live in the smart cities, the compliant slaves. You have to take probably all these shots. At least that's what they suggest in these documents. They're suggesting that if you want to live in their smart cities, you're going to have to take all of their, IDs and shots. But they say if you go outside the smart city, then you might not have to take the shots. They won't come after you. They'll leave you alone, but you won't get any electric or any running services. You'll be knocked back to the Stone Age. So it depends whether or not you take them at their own word. If you take them seriously or not, or if you think they're lying, they're just saying that so that you do nothing, and then you go out to the country and decide to not fight back on their word alone, and then they turn it around and get you anyway.
Yeah, I don't trust anything they say, but the one thing's for sure, they definitely want genocide. There's no doubt about that. They're not going to back off from what they're doing. That's correct, and you'll be eating synthetic food that matches the 3,000 or 300,000 acres that Mr. Gates has bought. You're already looking at their food. Burger King already sells one of their nice plant-based burgers. Okay, and the grocery stores are already carrying synthetic food. Okay, so you might want to get used to your new food. This is what happens to clowns that allow a handful of people to control them. We got billions of people on the planet. You got less than a million that are doing this. You have a handful of people telling all these other people what to do because they use the tool money, and because you have a hierarchy that allows you to, well, what is successful? Well, I have more money than you, so I'm successful. I can get this and that you can't get, and I'm above you. If I'm smarter than you because I have a man made construct.
Yeah, it's all based on simple, easily observable facts. It's not. It's like skin deep, but don't go any further than that. So you see somebody how much wealth they have, that must be a success, rather than actually spending time to analyze or think about their philosophies, how they live, their perspectives on the world, rather than listening, getting a deep conversation, getting to know them really well. Hearing their perspective, you're just going to make a judgment call because you can't be bothered thinking too deeply about what makes someone intelligent, or you don't even have the answers. A lot of people, they just make the snap judgments right away. They don't want to think. They're rather the government that are thinking for them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's what they're gonna do, man. And it's sad
Mm-hmm.
that this is the case, but I've spoke out for years, Harry, and you know this already, and I've tried hard to get people to see the real truth, but I've got a few people I've woke up along the way. I've got people that are already awake that understand what I'm saying. It ain't like I'm the only one. It's just the fact the majority of the manosphere is all messed up. The majority of MGTOW are TFLers because they hate the name MGTOW. Okay? Or they don't hate the name MGTOW, they hate the name TFL, so they went MGTOW. I find it funny because MGTOW was originally created by Barbarossa out of MRA. Okay? And it was
Yeah.
about men going their own way. In other words, walking away from women. But they
Yeah.
manipulated it into, You're taking your own path. Oh,
I have,
you're pump and dump. Yeah, they manipulated the hell out of it and destroyed it.
I guess I have no problem with someone calling himself a MGTOW rather than a TFLer. I feel like that's maybe more self-respectful, right? Because rather than saying, you're forced to
Yeah.
be alone, you're kind of, as you're victimizing yourself there, that type of mindset, rather than the
Well, I can
MGTOW say, well,
understand
I
that.
can deal with
So,
it and go the alternative route and be
yep.
strong about it.
In the past, I've told people before they're TFL, I don't care if they go MGTOW because I can understand it. The name I gave fit the situation. I know it's depressing to hear, but it fits the situation. Because you cannot force somebody to be with you, but they can force you to be without.
Yeah, it's an objective reality. The
They don't
MGTOW
have
is,
to go without because of the social engineering. There's always going to be another step to come along. Okay? But for the man, it don't work that way. There's not always another woman to come along because the majority of the
yeah.
women are doing the exact same thing.
Well, a lot of the men would have chosen to be with a woman if it was like the old agreement, if they, if they could get treated fairly. But obviously that's all gone now. I think it's in a man's nature to want to be loved and pair up. And certainly men with women and children fight harder, they work harder, they're more energetic, they have more energy. It's like their brain, their brain works harder to provide. It's some instinct within the man. But I guess, with the whole MGTOW thing, they understand that's gone. They're not going to get it. They can only get it if they submit and they sell themselves out and be a different person. So, I mean, some MGTOW probably could get with a woman, but they would have to be inauthentic. They would have to betray themselves. A lot of MGTOW aren't prepared to stoop so low as to change themselves just to
And
get
why
somebody in
and
life.
why would you? We're all human beings. No human being's that far above another. Okay, so why would you? I mean, why are you going there to begin with? Well, when the reality is we're all human beings, and she can't bear kids without the man, and the man can't get kids without the woman. Okay, and
Yeah.
we're all human beings. You know, it starts off with meeting each other, becoming friends, getting to know each other. That's what it's supposed to start off with. Okay, it's not supposed to start off on what is in it for me. Okay, it's not supposed to start that way, and it's just like what he is saying in here. Okay, so many married people are sexless.
So many what married people are
Married
asexuals.
people are sexless. They don't have sex anymore.
Yeah, I mean that's not even necessarily a bad thing. No, sex don't belong
No,
at the front of the
it's
relationship
not. It's
anyhow.
not a super bad thing at all because sex don't make a relationship. It's companionship. It's friendship. It's being with the person. A little
I
bit
mean,
of a little bit of intimacy here and there. Okay, it's all a person really needs to be happy. But when you can't even get that, you can't get no intimacy. You can't get hand holding. You can't get hugs. You can't get kisses. You can't
yeah.
get nothing. You just get nothing. Okay, and it doesn't matter what you do. You're still going to get the same results. Nothing. Nothing.
Well, the hand holding is important because our fingers are designed, the finger pads, the fingertips, they're designed to be touched. They're like electronic receptors. So whenever you're holding hands with somebody, that gives you oxytocin or pleasure hormones. So that helps your body, your brain function normally. A lot of guys, a lot of TFLers are starved of the oxytocin because they're never getting touched, and that damages their brain. It gives them bad mental health, right? Like getting
It does. Well,
a bad accident can fuck up your body. The fucked up body will fuck up the mind. But
well, it does fuck up the mind. That's why in my original TFL videos, I broke it down and told people it's like it'll eat you from the inside out because everywhere you go, you're going to see a couple together. You can't turn on your TV and not see a couple together. You can't go to the park and not see a couple together. You can't go to a mall and not see a couple together. You can't go to the beach and not see a couple together. Don't matter where you go, okay? And for a TFLer, well, they keep trying and being rejected, keep trying and being rejected, but they still get to keep seeing people with somebody, see people with somebody. And so what happens over time? It tears them up from the inside out, destroys them.
yeah, they're starved. They're starved of any affection, which is it's a normal human need. Right? As people, we like to be included in our societies. We like to create. We like to be involved, build things together, participate and collaborate in the sense that we're very sociable. We like to connect. And for a lot of people, the whole connection with the woman, which has been destroyed, destroys them. They cannot function without that instinctual drive, right, which has been built into them. They've got a strong drive for oxytocin to do well, to be touched by the woman. The women have it too, you know. If the woman gets after pregnancy, she get depressed sometimes because she's not touching the baby anymore inside her stomach.
Yeah.
You know, her. So it's documented. It's well documented that
It
you know
is.
a lack of being touched can cause depression, which destroys the mind. Depression causes you know CRP, I think, CRP proteins to be released, and you know CRP proteins are indicative of an infection. CRP proteins are about repairing damaged cells. So when being depressed from not being touched actually creates an internal war inside the body attacks itself and the cells start dying off. You know, your brain, your whole body starts dying off slowly. It's
Yeah.
like an attack from the inside. It's
It's
undeniable.
it's almost it's worse than, you know. They would have been better off to just take a gun and shoot the motherfucker in the chest for being a man and kill him. It's more humane because this is evil as shit. You're enjoying leaving somebody alive to suffer, and you're getting your rocks off on watching another human being hurt. And with
It's,
no care at all, this is what goes on.
it can be a never-ending mental torture for some people. No. And in that case, you know, hey, yeah, there's not really many options. You just have to kind of learn to go about rather than tearing yourself up.
Well, you know, I
Try to
call
get
it. I
used to
said,
it.
you know,
Can
earlier, Harry. I said it's all about usury, right? And so Grimm writes, okay, relationships are transitional now. That's why it's failed. Okay, it's all pay or pay to play. Yeah, it's all games. It's all about usury. It's all about what's in it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, the women know that the man the woman can get touched anytime, so they're used to man's desire to get touch against him as a bargaining chip. They're using his basic needs to commercialize it and increase their greed. They're getting greedy off denying people in desperation of his service and getting off on the power they hold over him.
Yep,
It's quite sickening.
it is. It's disgusting. It's evil. It's evil as fuck. You know, and unfortunately, what am I to do about it? There's nothing I can do about it. I didn't create the problem. Human beings created the problem following a fucking TV set, music, and social engineering. Your behaviors is what causes this.
Yeah, I guess I would tell people, you know, because there's not going to be a change to it so long as the elites are in power. This is the whole agenda to reduce the birth rates and keep everybody weak, divided, pathetic, so that they don't get
Yeah,
any real opposition by destroying the man. So the only real weapon we have is philosophy, you know, reading about people who have chosen to live TFL, like monks who have voluntarily went inside monasteries and never seen a woman again for 20 years, or priests who, I mean, priests undertake vows of celibacy. Some nuns undertake vows of celibacy and get locked up, never seeing, you know, a guy again or having sex with them. So, you know, we have to really try and adapt and learn to live like these other people, because some people can do it. It is possible. Unfortunately, the problem, it cannot be corrected. It's not within our individual power to do so. So we just have to learn to become masters of ourselves.
that's all you can do. That's all you really can do, Harry. You have to learn how to be happy for yourself, and that's all you can do, you know. And it's sad because, you know, when two people are in love with each other, they would do things right and hold on to that love that they have for each other, because it all comes back to this. If you don't cherish the people who love you when you have them in your life, then you're going to wind up alone, okay? And then you're going to be alone and it ain't going to matter, okay? And so many women have gone out here and played these games and wound up with umpteen husbands, umpteen kids, okay, and alone, are miserable, always fighting. can't get along. For the life of them, they can't get along, and it's because of their behaviors. Somebody wants to tell the other person what to think and how to do. You can't just like somebody for who they are. They have to fit a certain image in your brain. You have to look this way, you have to dress that way, you have to be this, you have to be that. All the list of bullshit that's been pushed on people, and they're all going by that, and they're all looking for that fit in, so they got this little mirage playing in their head from their television set, from their school system and their friends, and then they build that mirage up, and then they can't find that mirage, and they get frustrated. And then they think they found a mirage that don't exist, and then after they're with them, they discover it's not the mirage, and the drama's on. Okay, or we're going to change somebody, the women chasing after the bad boy. Well, we chase after them because it's the challenge of changing them. If you change them, that's going to take lots of drama, right? Lots of fighting, because you're trying to change somebody and form and shape them, literally mold them into something they're not, like what Harry just talked about. Okay, and then if they do that, well, then they're considered weak. So they dump them anyhow. They throw them away. It's a hamburger wrapper. When she's through using you, she crumbles you up and throws you away. You're left in the landfill. That's where you're at. Okay. She's not worried about it because she's got another guy that wants to give her affection. And when she's through and can't handle it no more and all frustrated, then she just locks up and she don't want anything from anybody.
The sad thing about it is all these behaviors were programmed into them for the language, for the social engineering, because people's brains are very much like computers in the way that a lot of computers are oriented around object-oriented programming, where you code an object and you retrieve the object to write multiple lines of code. Well, our brains use the same mechanism. Our brains use language instead of a programming language. But what ends up happening is the brain categorizes everything in the objects from the words, the language used. So to give an example, right, you got games. Whenever you think of a game, you attribute certain attributes to the label. So a game, you have winners and losers. In a game, you have fun, right, or skill. In a game, you have a collaborative process, right, generally. And there are games you can play by yourself, I suppose. So, I mean, there are exceptions to it, but whenever we think of games, we think of something we play with other people. And so, in the word game, all these sort of connotations come to mind. And in the same way, whenever people hear about something like dating or whatever, they attribute that to game, right? The POAs have somehow weaseled the word game into the dating scene, which makes game about winners and losers, all about fun and about comparing yourself to others and how well you're doing, your skills, your dating skills.
That's right. That's exactly it. Okay, that hit it right on the head. That's exactly it. This is the social engineering right in your face. And it was designed to do exactly that, to split up the genders. The birth rates, just like Grimm's comment, is at a historical low. Worldwide, the birth rates have dropped big time. They're not even at population replacement.
No, and that's part of it. That stuff, me talking about earlier, that plays a part of it. The social engineering plays a part of it.
Yep.
I mean, people have been engineered to be asexual. This is not new technology. This has been going on since the last 10, 12 years. The amount of people identifying as homosexuals, the young, has increased exponentially because of the stuff that's put into their body at a young age. Yep. They get them around, teenage years, right? High school, whatever, they give them these injections which go to their sexual organs to neutralize them and pump them up with a lot of sex hormones antagonistical to their natural sex hormones, which in turn renders them asexual or means that they can't get pleasure from sex. So now, we're growing up with a lot of young women who have been biologically modified, genetically engineered and altered within the last 10 years since 2008. They don't have pleasure in sex. They're like asexual or they're like bi or homo. And, this is why we have the TFL statistics have increased exponentially since 2008. It wasn't the rise of the dating apps. It wasn't the economic recession. It was around this time something come in the back door, which was called the HPV shot, was to give the teenage girls and this, fucked up their sexual organs, basically, in their sex drive. That was given out in the UK around 2008, in America around 2006. I think you guys got it a little earlier, so maybe that's why TFL is a little bit worse. About 2 years. So, it's fucked. It's not going to get better.
No, it's not. It's completely messed up.
It's a war on the mind and body.
It is. It's a war on the mind and body. The war is perpetrated against the people. By the people you're allowing to rule you and run you and own your money and print it. These are the people behind everything that's going on. They are the cause of TFL. And they spent many years creating a situation to break up the family unit, to split the genders, okay? And now people are so out of their minds, they can't get their priorities straight. They can't understand the damage they do to somebody else because they don't want to think about what they do to somebody else, what it would do to them or how they would feel, because they don't have to look back most of the time, and they won't look back because they don't want to see the damage they've done. They just want to continue to do it because what are they doing? Oh, they're one-upping somebody. Oh, man up and get over it. Yep, there's somebody else. There's thousands of fish in the sea. I mean, every cop-out, every excuse that a person could come up with is there, and nobody's paying attention. The numbers of TFL are a gigantic high. It's done nothing but grow, 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 grow. And that's because NWO, social engineering, division.
Yeah, there's thousands of fish in the sea, but it doesn't matter because thousands of the fish have been poisoned. They've all been poisoned with their minds, their bodies in the same way by the same little group doing it to us. That would be the NWO with all that power and reach and, everything. The social engineering, the body, the GMOs, the shots. I mean, this has been going on for a long fucking time. It's just getting one step worse, one step worse, one step worse.
It's baby steps. They're baby stepping everybody to the edge of the cliff. And it's a very, very, very high cliff with jagged, sharp, razor-edged rocks at the bottom everywhere. And they're leading everybody to the top of that cliff. And even all these so-called agents that are all over YouTube for the tool, okay? They're up here for the money line, their tails off, think it's cool line. Law enforcement, they're allowed to lie. They're told they can lie in the line of duty. While they're telling you, you better be honest. So see, the hypocrite that's got a costume on is telling you you got to be honest while he or she is lying to you.
Yeah, these bastards are telling us to be good people. Meanwhile, they're tying our fucking feet with a rope and dragging us off the cliff with them. Because that's what it means to be a good person.
And they're going to run out there and get their little jab, okay, for something that don't exist. We won't go too deep into that, or we won't exist.
Yeah, maybe went a bit deep into it. I went too deep into it earlier.
It's easy to do, isn't it?
I couldn't help myself. It's just the reason I don't want to talk about it is because it's so true. It goes right to the core of this. It's so personal, and the effects of this is worse than most people comprehend. They don't understand just how widespread this all was. Everybody, the young were targeted with this. There's a reason they push this shit on everybody, and the elites don't take it themselves. They don't give it to their own kids, but they give it to everybody else. There's a very important reason for that. That is because this is instrumental to the dumbing down of people. That's why a lot of the young people in particular cannot work to the same rate as the older people, because their minds have been destroyed and broken down by a lot of these things that have been pumped into them. Now, I'm lucky in the sense I don't think it affected me as much as it affected most of these other fucking zombies out there. I don't feel like it's affecting me at all, but it might have, like. I mean, I can't say it didn't, because it just fucking affected an awful lot of people. So for me to think I'm special, I'm the only one who didn't get affected by it, might be a bit egotistical, but
yeah, I wouldn't say that that's true. I'm sure you did, but the difference between you and them is you're able to use critical thinking skills. You don't believe just everything everybody tells you, and you take the time out of your life to look into things and observe and pay attention to what's going on around you for real, in real life. You're not living in a bubble. You're not parroting fucking what a TV set said so you can fit in. You're not worried about fitting in with others who are all brainwashed and poisoned, just like he told you. Okay, and that's literally what we have going on here. Okay, they have literally fucked the mind up so bad that people can't even get their heads straight.
Yeah, and they fucked it up in so many different ways that now most people, I mean, how they have a conversation is they just point out observations, or it's regurgitated lines. Whenever I'm talking to most people, it's like a repeat. Whenever you're intelligent enough to spot that, like I have a high enough IQ, right in the top 1% of the population anyhow, so I spot trends and patterns, and it's like talking to certain people, it's like you kind of go for the same fucking, the same talks day in, day night, what are you eating for dinner and all this type of shit. It's quite uninteresting stuff to me, it's very basic, but to these people, that's enough to excite them because maybe they forget what they said the last day, or maybe their memories don't go so far, or maybe they just get excited by the buzzwords, right? There's nothing going on behind the scenes. The buzzwords aren't enough to pique my interest, but there's definitely something going on. Whenever you look at the IQ scores of the younger generations in particular, it's done nothing but go down successfully by each generation, bit by bit by bit. Now, there's different arguments for it. There could be, they like to say, because we're letting people from lower bloodlines breed, or life's gotten easier for certain people. But I think these inoculations, they play a big part in it.
Yeah. The thing is though, I come up here and I try to help people and I try to give people support and I try to get people to communicate with each other because it's all we got. I mean, when you lose that communication skill, you're gonna find, your life is gonna be miserable. Unless you can set your mind up and you're okay, what some people are with being alone all the time. Okay, but unfortunately, people don't know what they're doing in the dating scene anymore. They've been so messed up they haven't the first clue.
Well, I understand because living in TFL basically means that every time some of these guys who get really bad affected by it, every time they see another person or they see another woman, they're reminded of how much they've missed out on, how much they've been starved of the oxytocin, how much pain they've subsequently gotten. Every time they see it, it's like a PTSD victim seeing,
It does.
something he can't have, and it traumatizes him each and every time he
They end up
interacts
with
with
they
another
end up
human
with
being
us.
and
They
loses
end
his
up with
communication skills.
yeah. They end up with post-traumatic stress disorder. The same thing the military come home with. You didn't even go in the military and didn't have to go to war to be traumatized that bad. You were traumatized that bad by the social engineering because it literally is true. The guy will turn on the TV set and all the movies will be based on, well, he's a villain, he's a rapist, he's a predator, especially if you go to Lifetime Channel, okay? And you
Mm-hmm.
got these hate channels, male bashing channels. Oprah Winfrey came up and created her own TV channel. And now on Oprah Winfrey's channel, and I don't even watch TV, it's nothing but male bashing. It's male bashing, male bashing, male bashing. Now, we had spent 40, 50 years female bashing. Oh my God, what a crime that would be. But it's okay to do that to men.
Yeah, because we know, basically at the same time they're doing this, they're pushing the gender roles that the men are more psychopathic or the men are more antisocial or the men, this testosterone just turns them into swamp beasts, as you say, Bill, it turns them into
Exactly.
predators. They're dangerous to society. And the women, I mean, they can never do that. They're compassionate and more empathetic. So, I mean, the reason a lot of these women are just more empathetic or smile a lot more is because they're doing better in society. The society treats them better so they can be happier, right? A lot of this so-called empathy comes from customer service skills. In other words, insincerity, falsely smiling at customers, pretending, saying hello, putting on an act, right? Meanwhile, you meet these people on the street, they're not going to smile or say hello. They're going to just stonewall you, walk past you, most of them. It's all about acting. It's more psychopathic than anything what they call empathy
It
because
is.
it's all
It
just
is.
an act,
It's all an
manipulation
act.
of
It's all
minds.
phony. It's all fake. You got to put on an act to impress a female and be somebody you're not. Then you're supposed to live that act when that act is not you. And so you have people freaking putting on acts, being fake, playing games with each other, deceiving each other, lying to each other, and thinking it's okay to do. Then, when domestic violence happens, bad things happen, and people get hurt, and people get crushed, and people get dead. You create your very own killer along the way. Somebody blew her head off. Katie Piper got acid thrown in her face. You know, you wind up like George Sedini, walked into a gym, shot and killed 2 women, turned a gun, blew his own head off. Okay? You wind up with bad things happening. You've seen TFLers over the years who have killed themselves. What, the last guy put gasoline or something on himself, lit himself on fire?
But yeah, that was Barack. I think Renegade.
Yeah.
That after that, he shot himself. Unfortunately.
Yep. And you know, when you see this stuff going on, and you're watching it go on, and you don't want it to go on, but you can't get people to pull their heads out of their ass. Excuse my language, but that's what it comes down to.
It does. Even young girls are basically, what do you call it? I mean, they're congratulated for being better liars than men.
Oh, yeah, well, I've seen some good stuff on that where they were comparing who lies more, and they were actually praising the female for being a better manipulator and liar. Now, that right there is psychotic. That's psychopathic behavior. You are praising somebody for hurting and destroying other lives.
And they say these people are more empathetic because they know how to smile or
oh yeah,
they know
right,
how to act in a bad show.
Exactly, all fake, all fake.
All upside down. In other words, your politicians can smile and act a certain way, must be the most empathetic because they're the best manipulators. So empathy becomes manipulation and lying.
I know.
Well, I guess that means we must be the psychopaths because we tell all the truth.
Oh, that's what gets us in trouble all the time, Harry. We accidentally tell truth. Accidentally on
purpose. That's antisocial.
Yeah, we're not quite narcissists or self-entitlement issues or psychopathic behaviors. Okay, we're looking for something real in a world with fakes everywhere.
And of course, TFL is a fucking danger or a threat to the society.
Oh, yes, it's a threat to their sick, psychotic behavior. It's a taboo topic that's not supposed to be discussed because if we talk about it, you might accidentally realize that you wasn't at fault for what's happening to you. You might realize that it's the people ruling you that you're allowing to rule you doing this.
You might realize that, you're not just a failure. You're not just, a fucking loser. You wouldn't be so hard on yourself. You maybe be more angry at the people responsible.
You should. That's where it belongs. The anger is legit, but the anger needs directed at the people who's done this to us. Not other victims. But in the manosphere, what do we see? We see men competing against each other and victimizing each other, all in the name of the same problem. They're fucking pretty much every guy that's in this chat room would throw another guy under the bus in 2 seconds for a female.
Yeah, I think some of the content creators even like, well, I'm not going to throw any names, but some of them have even encouraged that type of behavior because their heads are so far in the gutter. But I wouldn't do that. It wouldn't be real. If I can get it, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And if it's not meant to be, no, so be it. My way of looking at it. Well, I'm not going to beat myself up over it or obsess over it. It is what it is. Got to live in reality, Times have changed. Got to accept it. Got to accept the worst things coming down the fucking path as well.
You better accept what's coming down the path because it's what you people wanted. When you continue to go along with their social engineering and you can't back up and use your own brain, you can't recognize right from wrong, then obviously what's coming your way with Agenda 21 and 2030, I guess you wanted it, right?
Yeah, they're responsible for it anyhow, whether they wanted it or not. Just their fucking power trips and sick behavior has a price at the end of the day. They have a price how they've chosen to act. Nobody put a gun to their head and forced them to act in that way. They decided to act in that way because they somehow thought, it wouldn't affect them or they were special. And, you got to pay the piper sometime.
Unfortunately, the karma's coming back on everybody because their agendas are real, not fake, not conspiracy theory, not injection. It's real. It's playing out right in your face. and they do it in baby steps. And if you were to ask me or ask Harry, in my opinion, within a couple of 3 years from now, there's not going to be very many people alive, and the internet will probably be gone. All of your fancy blah 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 won't exist no more. Okay, you're going to get drawn back to the Stone Age, and you're going to get put into a damn grid, and you're going to be in a smart city, and everything's going to change, man, and it ain't going to be what you've ever been used to. You will be eating bugs and synthetic food. You will be not free at all. You'll have no rights, no rules, no freedom. You won't have no rights to anything because it's all going to be gone. Why is it going to be gone? Because you all gave it away. It's what you said you wanted. You're going to say, I didn't say I wanted it. Well, of course you did. You were busy calling the people that were trying to tell you and trying to get you to stand with them. You were busy attacking them, so of course you wanted it.
Yeah, a lot of people, unfortunately, have just got obsessed with certain parts of the puzzle. Paid selective hearing the truth, paid attention to certain parts and ignored others.
Yeah.
As a result, I mean, you're getting what you deserve because, you haven't really been conscientious of the bigger picture and of the people around you. Not us in particular. I think a lot of us people have probably done the best we could, so long as you try and be
I've tried the
nice around
best.
you.
I've tried the best I could do, Harry, and I clearly understand and see what's going on. I even know how to fix it, but I'm powerless. I can't. Because everybody I talk to, everybody surrounding me is pretty much, well, gone. They've been poisoned so bad you can't get them to see.
Yeah, they like to laugh and just, play it all off as some kind of kook theory and how it's all going to be going back to normal now that these vaccinations are rolling out. And, we just got to get that and we'll all be back to normal. It's
And yeah,
nothing,
you know
nothing
what's
suspicious.
even sick about that, Harry? It's all going to go back to normal, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
normal they're thinking about is still psychopathic. It's still the same world before 2020 that TFL was growing big in. It's still the
Oh,
same division. You're not talking about fixing the problem. You want to run back and continue the problem.
yeah, the normal they're talking about was fucking bad enough.
It was. I mean,
That
it's
was needlessly.
psychotic. I want to go back to the psychotic way we was.
That old system was all about mental slavery. It was less physical. Most slave systems in the past are done by force. They're very overt. This one in the past was more about thinking. It was about trying to shackle the mind, make people outcasts, or deny people certain things based on their, expressing their individuality and their unwillingness to conform.
Yeah.
Right, their willingness to think for themselves. That old system they want to go back to is the normies paradise, which is, the vacant mind. A lot of these normies are vacant in the mind, and it's very mundane, repetitive. You talk to a lot of these people, are very mundane, repetitive. Just like talk about their certain topics and issues. They cannot talk about other things that they don't care about. They get obsessed with stupid things like sports games.
Well,
Meanwhile, they're ignoring the real picture.
people fail to understand how serious this is because they played word games and sold to the people in America that they lived in a democracy. They even gave you democracy now with Amy Goodman, okay? So they've been selling you that you live in a democracy in the United States when you actually lived in a republic, okay? So they able to change the Constitution and write it off and do away with it because they can vote it away now because nobody ever fucking stood up and said we do not live in a democracy. They went along with it, okay? So, and they spent from like 1950 forward passing laws and writing executive orders that gave them the power over everything. The complete shipment of everything. Everything. Food, gas, transportation, everything. I mean everything. And when you look at like, okay, we're sitting here in a calm before the storm. And there's reports coming out, and I've seen both of them, for the 9th of July, okay? One of them is the World's Economic Forum planning a military exercise for a supply chain attack. You just got through watching
Hmm.
a pipeline attack. You just got through seeing a meat plant attacked. And what's funny about it is they're claiming it's being attacked on the internet. But yet, for many, many decades, there was no internet. That pipeline was still there, and it was pumping oil without the internet. So, why wouldn't we disconnect the internet and turn the pumps back on?
Well, it's mainly an attack on the younger generation who don't understand that these things are not internet dependent. Like a meat processing plant is not internet dependent. You can simply do calls, do orders by phone calls. The meat plant, particularly, they said they couldn't do any orders because all the orders are done online. So when you take down the system, there's nobody to buy and sell. Meanwhile, it's quite easy to just do phone calls and arrange things over phones and, exchange, especially if you're not cashless, you can just exchange the
If
cash in the
yes,
hand that way and
you
sign
go
the legal
back to
documents.
if you went back to old school before the internet, everything ran just fine without the internet. So you see the hypocrisy here. You need to really look because all this stuff was wrote in Agenda 21. If you took the time to read it, you took the time to look into laws that have been passed over the last umpteen decades, you would see where they've been being set up the entire time. Why do you think the state of emergency's never been lifted? Because under the state of emergency, they have the right to give you the jab.
Yeah, that's right. They've signed laws that make it legal for them to inoculate your children with whatever the fuck they want to give them, and you have no rights or no say so in that. And if you
Yep.
oppose that, you can go to jail.
Well, you got that, and I'll give you a good one. If you're when you're born in America, I'm sure this is worldwide, you have a birth certificate. If the parents refuse to sign the paperwork for the birth certificate, they
Hmm.
will take the child away from the parents and put the parents in jail. The parents will get fined and lose custody of their kid because, see, the birth certificate puts the child in the government's hands. It's ownership of you when you're born. What do you think the social security number was? And your birth certificate number? Well, it goes to a bank account in the stock market that has your name on it. You are cattle. And if you don't understand that, I can't help you any because that's the facts. They look at us as cattle.
They do, and they look at their cities as their human farms. And the definition of the United Nations of a good citizen is a good producer and consumer. So,
Yep.
they look at us as our value to them is what we can produce. And so, you're not judged on being a person anymore. You're judged on what you provide, the fruits, let's say, or the goodies, the harvest.
Yep, exactly. And then of course you're in a system that's consumerism, materialistic items, okay, ruling the nest. Oh my God, my trinket fell off the shelf and broke. Oh my God, what a crime! I'm gonna have to go to a funeral. Survived by. It's pathetic.
It is because this whole consumerism of the goods that break down all the time. It kind of conditions people to become careless and not give a fuck about the possessions. In a sense, it gets you used to just treating everything like you can throw it away, replace it, and get a new one. By making everything so materialist, you can find replacements for everything. Replacements for computers, social relationships. It's all become marketized. It's like the sexual market value. It's like even people have become materialistic products which you can replace and throw away and which break down, or they're defective. A certain person is unfuckable, they're a defective product. These are the types of narratives the society pushes, and it's so evil. It's so evil to compare people to just a phone, an old phone, or a computer that's broken down and needs to be thrown away. It's complete usury,
It
complete
is.
psychopathic behavior.
Everything's psychopathic. Let's look. I watched the genders go from two genders and a morphodite occasionally, okay, to 100 genders now. And it just blows me away how they expect people to believe that there's 100 genders, 50 genders, 40 genders, 20 genders, 10 genders, 5 genders. It's just completely insanity. So, I say, okay,
Mhm.
Harry, if he wants to be a tree today, he can be a tree today. And if he wants to be a bulldozer tomorrow, he can be a bulldozer tomorrow. I mean, you want to know how ridiculous this is? There you are.
Yeah, and that kind of fits in with the whole materialistic mindset because you got different types of phones, we got different types of computers. So now we think we got different categories or different types of people. A person can be this gender or that gender, as if you can just neatly package everybody into some different type of box. Like, oh, this is the the non-binary phone, or this is the. I mean, it's just about complete division and confusing people, getting people fighting about little insignificant things. Meanwhile, in the background, the real issues nobody wants to talk about. They're all just fighting amongst themselves about what gender this is, or whether they can get a date in their lives. Meanwhile, the real decisions behind the fucking curtain, right? The real reckoning that's going to come down on us all. These people operate in the shadows while we're all distracted with this frivolous, stupid nonsense and shit.
That's exactly it. I mean, you're all freaking stuck in this bubble, while behind the scenes, they're the ones that put you there. And when they're through, they're going to pop the bubble, and you're all going to fall off the cliff of your death, and you're going to drag the innocent people down with you, like the children, okay? Like the people who are awake and aware that have been trying to tell you and show you that the power is in the people's hands globally. And if we, the people, don't take our heads firmly out of our behinds, they're going to get by with repeating history because that's what's going on right now. We're in a time that history is replaying itself. We are now Russia. We are now Nazi Germany.
It's all become dumbed down, simplistic. People living within bubbles. And the sad thing about it is people become so ignorant of anything outside of the bubble. They become vacant to it, and it's like part of simplifying people down and commercializing them and summing them up by a few labels at first judgment, first glance, rather than taking a deeper look at what's actually going on. What's
That's
going
it.
on?
And it's really sad because of all this. I've had to sit back and watch so many men lose fucking their minds because of this bullshit. Okay, I've had to sit back and watch all the hurt going on, all the division, all the fighting. Okay, and it's disgusts me. It makes me sick because there's just no excuse for the behavior. I mean, but see, there you are, man. People want to say it's in your nature, but no, it's in the programming. Because your brain, you are literally like a walking computer. Because your brain actually and your eyeballs see code and your brain processes it, and that's what makes you see what you see with your eyes. Okay, so picture your eyes as being a scanner at the grocery store. They scan the product on. Okay, and your brain being the processor, the chip, the processor inside the motherboard, your brain. Okay, and it happens
Mm-hmm.
at lightning fast speed. So when you look and see a house, it's not visually a house until it's decoded, but it's decoded so fast you see a house.
Yeah, yeah. The eyes are designed to perceive in terms of whatever that is, light, right? That's the stimulus which that machine operates upon. The ears are designed to detect the sound, which is a different frequency, which is hertz. And the brain works on some electronic frequency, but it seems to think through words. That seems to be
Well,
what runs it.
in reality, there's no absolute legit excuse to have a military, other than the fact you failed to fucking grow up. Okay? Because when you
Mm-hmm.
ask somebody what's the military for, they're going to tell you to defend their country. And I'm going to say to them, defend them from what? Well, in case, and they'll give you all these things, right? And you look
Right.
at the reality is if you grew the fuck up, you would learn how to get along, you'd learn how to care about others as much as you do yourself. Nobody said you have to be their friend, okay, or hang with them. But you learn how to get along, you learn how to work together for the survival of everybody, and you wouldn't have a hierarchy where somebody can think they're above somebody else. You wouldn't have gender roles because what human being had the right to tell Harry, this is what it is, I'm basing what I'm telling you based on the fact you were born with a penis. So this is what you are if you're a penis, and I'm going to give you all your gender roles, okay? This is what it is to be a man. And then I'm going to look over here at the little baby girl, and I'm going to say, okay, that's a vagina. So this is her roles. So another human being designed the roles that all of these people are following. Them roles were designed to destroy you. Even in the Bible, it was going to tell you that the man is the head of the household. So then it becomes used as I'm the head of the household, I'm the boss, and you abuse your partner. Believe me, I've seen this shit with my own eyes play out. It was wonderfully created.
It's a very disempowering feeling, really, whenever you have a group telling you your role and what you can and can't be. And the example of the military is it hits home hard because, I mean, the purpose of having a military kind of implies that you're not responsible enough to protect yourself. You're just a child, and you can't handle the responsibility. Now, we don't need a military. We just need people armed who can protect themselves. That's what we need.
That's right.
How about growing the fuck up and taking responsibility and being a master of your own destiny rather than getting dispossessed of every aspect of responsibility, handing it over to other people, other specialized organizations, and losing all that power from yourself, becoming a slave, essentially. So much of this is about becoming a slave. To give an example, a lot of this social justice stuff, which has went on in the last 20 years, if you disagree with your government or you have your own opinions on things, you're not allowed that. You have to go along with the narrative. And if you disagree with social justice, you have your own opinion, you're hated on. But this happens in stages. This is a slow process conditioning you into becoming a serf. In other words, somebody who follows the orders but is unable to give orders. And what I'm saying here is the social justice happening in stages. The social justice movement basically tells you, if you disagree with the orders now, that's because you're a bad person, because this is for the good of all people. This is for equality. Meanwhile, it's not about equality at all. It's really about serfdom, because the next step, what comes after conditioning you to follow orders for the greater good, is conditioning you to follow orders from the exact same people pushing the social justice narrative, which are your military-industrial complex, your politicians, your media, that will start pushing new laws like vaccination for the good of all, or stop eating meat for the good of all, or live inside the cities, no carbon tax for the good of all. This is where it leads to. And
get a bicycle if you want transportation, or use your feet for the good of all. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to recycle your sewage water from your toilets for you to drink, because there's a shortage of fresh water on a water planet that has no shortage of water. There's a shortage of crude oil on a planet that produces it on a regular basis where you're not running out of oil. Oh, we're overpopulated. I could take the whole world's population and fit them into the state of Texas. But we're overpopulated. That's a crock of crap. They keep feeding you lie after lie after lie after lie. The real reality is you're about to be genocided and killed off and enslaved. And this crap about, they enslaved the colored people, the black people. You white people did that with your white privilege. And I start laughing at your dumb ass. Because literally everybody on this planet, regardless of what race you're at one time or another, has been a slave to these people.
Exactly. We live in a civilization which is predicated on slavery today. The elites basically said that, slavery is the default state of mankind. They give you allegories like, Sisyphus pushing that boulder up the hill just for it to be rolled on again. In other words, because of our bloodline, our position, what position we're born into, our role in life is to push that boulder up the hill, let it roll down, push it up the hill, let it roll down, never have any say-so or authority because we aren't born into the right so-and-so bloodline. And, that's just our fate, our destiny. Other people get to live better than us, but that's just out of our control because of where
Yeah,
we're
it's
born
out of our
into.
control because somebody said so. Another human being that puts their clothes on the same way you do, that goes to bed at night, sleeps like you do, sits on a toilet like you do, bleeds like you do. Okay, but because you give them a man-made construct or a name, oh, it's a congressman. Oh, it's a president. Oh, it's a queen. Oh, it's a king. Okay, I mean, it's retarded. These are human beings like you are, and they don't have a right to own you.
Yeah, full stop. There's no right to own you, not for the good of all. Soon these fuckers are going to take away cars and say, it's for saving the planet, the good of all, for the good of the future generations. This is the whole narrative behind Extinction Rebellion and what's going on at the moment, the push for the public transportation, the sector living zones. But, I mean, all this stuff happened in stages. The roots of it, I would argue, some of it goes back to feminism with the whole idea of equality, affirmative action, equal hiring of women into the workplace in certain positions, and if you like of authority, we have to have equal representation, not based on skill, but it's like equal representation not based on skill, but just equal representation based on the sake of equal representation. So a lot of people who oppose this were called sexist or against the good of all, right, the equality. Like I was saying earlier, this conditions you. It conditions you to think that if you have your own opinions, if you want to give your own orders, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to because for the good of all, it's your position to just take the orders. And meanwhile, for the guys living in TFL, the guys who are suffering, if they make a demand, let's say they say, I want a girlfriend because I'm living TFL, right? If they make a demand, these same people will call them selfish, entitled narcissists. But yet, at the same time, they are commanding and demanding these people. Yet they're not called selfish, entitled narcissists for telling you how to act in a certain way, for telling you to wear a mask, for telling you to allow these people to be hired instead of you just because you're overqualified or based on gender quotas or, racial quotas or quotas like that, which are based on, as I said, not skill, but just based on outcome for equality, for the sake of equality. You have to go along with it, or else you're a horrible, hateful person. This type of shit conditions you into the mind of slavery where you just take every order, no matter how bad it gets, in stages, progressively worse. That's what progressivism is. It's about getting progressively worse.
And that's what you're witnessing right now. And right now we're at the calm before the storm. And I suspect there's something coming. I really do. This July 9th date has been used more than once. And I say if there is an military exercise drill scheduled for that date, whatever the exercise is, whether it's power or the internet or the food chain, since I seem to be hearing all these things being said, all of these things are wrote in Agenda 21 to begin with. So they're going to do this stuff for real. So I just tell you, get ready, because it's getting ready to get a whole lot worse.
It is. If you if you have any complaints about it, if you have any complaints when it gets a whole lot worse, prepare to be called entitled, narcissistic, selfish, for demanding anything for yourself and not just going along with what you're told.
Yep.
Your
Well,
orders.
I want to say something to Grim right here. He said hyperinflation is the storm. First off, there's no such thing as hyperinflation. You know why? Because Tricky Nicky way back when took gold and silver away from your dollar. Your dollar used to be backed up by gold and silver. Now it's backed up by zero, by nothing. Its numbers pulled out of their anal. So how do you hyperinflate something that's not there? When you had gold backing it up, if you had, let's say, $1,000,000 in value of gold, you would print $1,000,000 in value of dollar bills, right? Well, when you
Mm-hmm.
took that, and then if you printed more than $1,000,000, that would be hyperinflation. Because now the dollar would be worth less because there's only a million in gold and you printed 2 million, so now it's worth half. Okay, that's hyperinflation. But when you took the gold and silver away from the dollar, and then you tell me it's hyperinflation, it means you pulled it out of your anal.
It's backed only by a fucking terrorist organization known as the banking cartel, the politicians and the military who control it all. And when they want to fuck your life over, make it worse, make everything just tougher on the people, what they'll do is they'll turn on their money printer, go burr, hyperinflation, bingo, time to fucking, kill everybody off
That's
and
right.
destroy them.
And
That's where it comes from.
watch out for the bank holiday. Because when the banks announce there's a holiday, you just lost all of your money. Any money you had is gone. They stole it, and they get by with it. It's legal for them to steal. It's just not legal for you. You're a cow, you're a horse, you're a sheep. I'm a firm believer in natural law. Because natural law says that as long as you're not doing harm to somebody else, you're free.
Yeah.
Do what you want as long as you're not doing harm unto somebody else. Okay? And that's really all you need because you're a human being on this planet. And this planet's not owned by some scumbag that was born like we was that wants to call themselves something they're not. But if you keep listening to them and thinking they're who they say they are, you're a fool. This is why history keeps replaying itself.
Yeah, and speaking of replaying itself, it does. Like this hyperinflation, which went on in Greece about 10 years ago, I think that was a test run for them, but they froze people's bank accounts. So if you had like $200K in the bank account or euros, right, in Greece, whatever it was, they only allowed you to withdraw a fraction of it. They would only allow you to withdraw maybe like 10% of it.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, they would say, you can't have it because we banks are in trouble. We don't have enough money to keep your society going, so we're going to have to, steal all your money to keep
we
it
don't
running.
have enough money to keep it going, but we print it out of thin air anytime we want. But we don't have enough money to keep it going, you fucking Ponzi scam and lying psychopathic. Okay? And then
Yeah.
the cryptocurrency, well, that's going to be a whole other ballpark. Because they do away with your tangible currency called the dollar or the whatever the peso, doesn't matter. But if it's currency you hold in your hand, they say you can't use that no more. It's gone, and you only have crypto left. Now you're really going to be screwed. When the power goes out, you got no money. If they decide you're not allowed to buy this, they just punch it in the computer. You go to buy it, and you're not allowed to buy it. Even if you have the currency, even if you have the crypto there to buy it, you can't have it. Okay, nope, sorry, we decided for you. We can decide now how much you get to buy and how much you can't buy. And if you don't comply to our demand, we'll shut off your crypto. You won't have no money. You won't be able to go here. You won't be able to do this. You won't be able to do that. What do you think they're going to do with the jab? Well, if you ain't got the jab, sorry, you can't shop here. Oh, well, if you ain't got the jab, you still got to wear a mask. You got to put a diaper on your face now. Do you got some baby wipes to wipe my crap off my nose? Because I'm going to be wearing a diaper all day.
Yeah, I mean, I see it coming. I see them using that whole hyperinflation as a scam to rob all the billionaires and millionaires, everybody who's got anything of value in their bank account. They're going to be prohibited from withdrawing it. Meanwhile, they're going to, increase the prices of everything, and they're going to say you own too much. You have to give some of this over. You're going to default on a lot of their properties when they can't withdraw their own money. That's going to be stolen from them, robbed straight out, and it's going to be because we need to keep the society running for the good of all here. So, yeah. A lot of people are going to lose their ass.
That's where we're headed. So I guess as we get ready to get out of here, the only thing I can tell you is you better get ready. Things are going to get bad, really ugly. They haven't stopped. This is not going away. Okay? It's not going away because you've done nothing about it. You keep moving on like things are going to be your normal when things have been messed up for so long. I mean, human beings have made this mess, and only human beings can fix this mess. And if you're not man or woman enough to stand up and do the right thing together, Just say no. No compliance worldwide. That's what has to happen to stop them. Then you go after them and take everything away from them. All royal bloodlines gone. All bankers gone. Locked up for eternity, man, until they're gone. You have to go after your real enemy, because if you don't, you're never going to win. You've lost. But anyhow, I think we're right at that time, Harry, so I'm going to end this.
Yeah.
Okay?
Good one. Went on a long time. I think this is a good place to stop it.
Yep, so I think we'll stop here. We're right at the hour and a half mark. So anyhow, guys, we're out of here. And until I decide again, we'll see what happens. But get ready.